I am standing in my living room right now, looking at the white picket fence through my window, and I still cannot believe what my parents tried to do to me. Buying this house was supposed to be the proudest moment of my life. 3 years of saving every penny, working overtime, skipping vacations, all so I could finally have something that was truly mine. I thought buying my own place would finally give me the independence I had been craving for years. But I did not know my parents saw it differently. They saw it as a mistake they needed to fix, even if it meant crossing every line. What they did next still haunts me to this day. Before I dive into what happened, I would love to know, where are you watching from? If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you will want to hear how this nightmare unfolded, because what my parents tried to do is something no one should ever have to face. So let me take you back to where it all started. Growing up in Connecticut, I always felt like I was living in a cage with invisible bars. My father, Gerald, was an accountant with a personality as rigid as his spreadsheets. Everything had to be controlled, measured, accounted for. My mother, Patricia, stayed at home, and she had this talent for making you feel guilty about things you did not even do. Together, they formed this suffocating duo that made every decision for me. The rules in our house were not just strict, they were ridiculous. I had a curfew of 9 p.m., even when I turned 18. Can you imagine 18 years old, legally an adult, and I had to be home before the streetlights came on? I had to report every single activity. Going to study at a friend's house, I needed to provide their address, phone number, and a detailed explanation of what we would be studying. Wanted to go to a movie, I had to tell them the showtime, the theater location, who I was going with, and what time I would be home. Family dinners were mandatory every single night, no exceptions. Not for sports practice, not for club meetings, not for anything. Their favorite phrase was, "We know what is best for you." And the worst part, they backed it up with money. They paid for my college, so according to them I had no choice but to follow their rules. Anytime I tried to push back even a little, my mother would start with the emotional manipulation. "After everything we have done for you, this is how you repay us." She would say it with tears in her eyes, and I would feel like the worst son in the world. I loved them. I really did. But I felt like I was drowning. Every day the weight on my chest got heavier. I wanted to make my own choices, make my own mistakes, live my own life. But wanting independence made me feel guilty, like I was betraying them somehow. The turning point came after I graduated from college. I landed a job as a digital marketing specialist in Boston, about 2 hours away from home. It was not across the country, but it felt like freedom. I told my parents I was moving, and their reaction was exactly what I expected. "You are making a mistake," my father said. "Boston is too far," my mother added. "You should stay home and save money." But for the first time in my life, I stood firm. "I am going," I said. Those first 2 years in Boston were like learning to breathe again. I rented a tiny apartment, nothing fancy, just a studio with a kitchen, barely big enough for one person. But it was mine. I could come home at midnight if I wanted. I could eat cereal for dinner. I could invite friends over without asking permission. For the first time in my life, I felt like an actual adult. But my parents were not ready to let go. The daily phone calls started immediately. "Have you eaten? Where are you right now? Who are you with? What time are you coming home? Mom," I would say, "I live alone. I do not have to come home at a specific time." She would ignore that completely and keep asking questions. They started showing up unannounced too, driving 2 hours just to inspect my apartment. "This place is too small," my father would say. "You are wasting money on rent," my mother would add. They had this constant suggestion, like a broken record. Just move back home, save money for a house. And you know what? That last part actually gave me an idea. If I bought my own house, I thought they would see I was serious. They would see I could handle adult responsibilities. They would finally respect my independence. So I started saving aggressively. Every paycheck I put away as much as I could. I worked extra projects, took on freelance gigs on weekends, cut every unnecessary expense. For 2 solid years, I lived like a monk, all to save up for a down payment. When I finally had $64,000 saved up, I started house hunting. I searched for months, looking at dozens of places. I knew exactly what I wanted. 3 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood within my budget of $320,000. And then I found it. A Cape Cod-style house in a suburb of Boston just 25 minutes from my office. The moment I walked up to it, I felt something click into place. It had a small front yard with a beautiful maple tree, a white picket fence that looked like something from a movie, and a cozy front porch, where I could already imagine drinking my morning coffee. Inside it was even better. Hardwood floors throughout a fireplace in the living room that actually worked, and an updated kitchen with granite countertops. It was not a mansion, but it was perfect. It felt like home before I even signed the papers. The buying process was nerve-wracking. Getting pre-approved for the mortgage made my stomach twist with anxiety. What if they rejected me? What if I could not afford it? But the numbers worked out. My down payment was $64,000, exactly 20%. The mortgage would be $256,000, a 30-year fixed rate at 4.2% interest. My monthly payment would be roughly $1,250, which was totally affordable on my salary of $72,000 a year. I ran the numbers 100 times. I could do this. Closing day was June 15th, and it should have been the happiest day of my life. I signed stack after stack of papers, my hand cramping by the end. When they handed me the keys, I actually felt tears in my eyes. This was mine. I had done this by myself, without my parents' help, without anyone controlling me. I was so proud. I called them immediately, still sitting in the lawyer's office. "Mom, Dad, I bought a house," I said, unable to keep the excitement out of my voice. I expected congratulations, maybe even a hint of pride. Instead, there was silence. Long, heavy silence. Then my father spoke. "You did what?" Without consulting us, his voice was ice cold. "Damon," my mother chimed in, "houses are expensive. Are you sure you can afford this?" What followed was an interrogation. "What is the interest rate? Did you negotiate? Did you get an inspection? How much are the property taxes? What about insurance?" The questions came rapid fire, each one sounding more accusatory than the last. Not once did either of them say congratulations. Not once did they say they were proud of me. Instead, my mother said, "Well, if you need help with payments, you know you can always move back home and rent it out." My father added, "We should come see this place. Make sure you were not scammed." I hung up, feeling completely deflated. But I pushed the feeling aside. They will come around, I told myself. Once they see I can handle this, they will understand. I was so wrong. The first invasion happened exactly 1 week after I closed on the house. It was a Saturday morning, 8 a.m., and I was still in my pajamas, surrounded by unpacking boxes. I heard a car pull up, then knocking on my door. When I opened it, there stood my parents, my father holding a clipboard, my mother carrying a casserole dish. "We thought we would come see your new place," my mother said, walking past me, without waiting for an invitation. My father followed, already scanning the rooms with his critical eye. I had not even invited them. They just showed up. What followed was 2 hours of the most passive-aggressive house inspection I have ever experienced. My father walked through every single room with his clipboard, taking notes like he was a professional inspector. "This roof looks old," he said, pointing up. "You will need to replace it soon. That is probably $15,000 right there." He turned on every faucet. "The water pressure is weak." He knocked on walls. "These windows are not energy efficient." He went down to the basement. "The foundation might have cracks." My mother was no better. "Honey," she kept saying, "this is so much work. Are you sure you want this burden?" She said it like I had bought a prison instead of a house. By the time they left, my father had created a list of necessary repairs, with an estimated cost of $15,000. The inspection was clean, I kept telling him. These are just minor issues. You do not know what you are talking about, son, he replied. We are trying to help. That was just the beginning. The visits became weekly, always unannounced, always finding new problems. They did not like the color I painted the living room. They thought my furniture layout was wrong. My father would bring tools and try to fix things that were not broken. My mother would rearrange my kitchen cabinets. The house stopped feeling like mine. The financial pressure started too. My father constantly asked about my mortgage payment. Can you really afford $1,250 every month? What about property taxes, insurance, maintenance? He created an actual spreadsheet showing the actual costs of homeownership with inflated numbers for everything. You are house poor, he kept saying. My mother would add, you never go out anymore. You are always worried about money. Except I was not worried about money. I was fine. I was budgeting responsibly, like any adult should. I still went out with friends, still had savings left over each month. But they were painting this picture of me struggling, drowning in debt, making terrible decisions. And the worst part, they almost had me believing it. Then came the spare key incident. My mother asked for a spare key just in case of emergency. I hesitated. Every instinct told me to say no, but years of conditioning kicked in. Do not be difficult, that voice in my head said. It is just for emergencies. So I gave it to her. Within 1 week, she let herself into my house while I was at work. I came home to find my kitchen completely rearranged. All my cabinets were organized differently. She had thrown away things she considered clutter, including a vintage record player I had just bought. There was a note on my counter. The house was a mess, honey. You need to keep up with it. I felt violated. This was my house, and she had just walked in and taken over like it was hers. The next week, my father used the key to let himself in and fix a leaky faucet that was not actually leaking. He broke the handle in the process and left me a bill for $87 for the parts. You owe me for the supplies, his note said. The third week, both of them showed up on a Friday night while I had friends over. We were just hanging out, watching a movie, having some beers. They walked right in. Oh, we did not know you had company, my mother said, even though there were clearly 3 cars in my driveway. They stayed for an hour making small talk, asking my friends uncomfortable questions. Are these the kind of people you associate with now? My mother asked, after one of my friends mentioned he was a bartender. My friends left early, embarrassed by the whole situation. After they were gone, I called my mother. I need that key back, I said. She started crying immediately. You do not trust your own mother. How can you say that my father got on the phone? We are just trying to help, and this is the thanks we get. The guilt trip was so intense that I backed down. Fine, keep the key, I said, hating myself for it. 3 months into owning my house, things escalated to a whole new level. My parents invited me for a family dinner. Just a normal Sunday dinner, my mother said. Nothing special. I should have known better. When I arrived, there was a stranger at the table. This is Howard, my father said. He is an accountant friend of mine. I asked him to take a look at your mortgage. My blood ran cold. Howard smiled and pulled out a printout. I have reviewed your mortgage terms and you are paying too much interest. You should refinance. Or better yet, let your parents co-sign to get you a better rate. How did you get my mortgage information? I asked, my voice shaking. We have our ways, my father said casually. We are trying to help you. This is a violation of my privacy, I said, standing up. My mother immediately started crying. Why are you being so hostile? We love you. I left that dinner furious, but it did not stop. The phone calls about refinancing became daily. My father sent me packages from different banks, all requiring my parents as co-signers. This way we can get you a better rate, he kept saying. But I saw through it. If they were co-signers, they would have legal access to my mortgage control over my house. I refused. Every single time. You are being stupid and stubborn, my father finally said. Then 4 months into owning my house, they showed up on a Sunday morning and sat me down for what they called a serious conversation. "We have done the math," my father said, pulling out yet another spreadsheet. "You cannot afford this house." "We are worried sick about you, honey," my mother added, clutching her tissue. "Here is what we propose. You sell the house, move back home for a year, save more money, then buy something more reasonable." I stared at them in disbelief. "I am not selling my house," I said slowly. "I can afford it just fine. Your mother and I did not raise you to be this irresponsible," my father shot back. "If you loved us, you would listen," my mother added. That line made something snap inside me. "This has nothing to do with love," I said. "This is about you needing to control me." The argument got heated fast. Voices were raised. My mother cried. My father pounded his fist on my coffee table. Finally, they stormed out. "You will regret this decision," my father said as his parting shot. I thought that was the worst it could get. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday afternoon, completely ordinary. I was at my desk at work reviewing a marketing campaign when my phone rang. The number was from my mortgage company. Mr. Damon, a woman named Jennifer, said, "This is Jennifer from First National Bank Mortgage Department. We have a request here to cancel your mortgage. Can you verify this is legitimate?" My heart stopped. What, cancel my mortgage? I never requested that. According to this form, you are requesting full payoff and cancellation. It is signed with your name. I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward. I did not sign anything. Who submitted this? There was a pause. "It was submitted in person yesterday by a Gerald," she said, reading the last name. "He claimed to be your father and said you authorized him." The room started spinning. "Please do not process that," I said, my voice barely working. "It is fraudulent. I will be there right now." I grabbed my keys and left work immediately, not even telling my boss. The drive to the bank felt like it took hours, even though it was only 30 minutes. My mind was racing. How could they do this? How could my own parents commit fraud? When I got to the bank, Jennifer and her manager, Mr. Phillips, were waiting for me. They showed me the form. It was in my father's handwriting, but my signature was forged at the bottom. The form requested early mortgage payoff and cancellation. Attached to it was a check from my father for $256,000, the exact amount of my remaining mortgage. There was a note on the form: "Son having financial difficulties, parents stepping in." "Your father was very convincing," Mr. Phillips said. "He had your social security number, your loan number, everything." They showed me security camera footage of my father at the counter, confident and assertive, acting like he had every right to be there. "He stole my information," I said. "This is fraud." "We caught it because the signature looked off," Jennifer explained. "We always verify these things." They had not processed anything yet. I filed an official complaint right there, added password protection to my account, and got copies of all the documents. As I sat in that bank office, the full picture became clear. My father's plan was to pay off my mortgage completely. Then the house would be owned free and clear. Then they would pressure me to sell it, probably claiming they had part ownership since they paid it off. Or worse, they might have tried to add their names to the deed somehow. Either way, they would have control. Control over my house, control over my money, control over me. I felt betrayed on a level I cannot even describe. These were my parents, the people who were supposed to love me, support me, want what is best for me. And they had just tried to commit fraud against their own son. I drove straight to their house. I did not call first. I did not want to give them time to prepare excuses. I was still in my work clothes, and my hands were shaking with anger. It was 6 p.m. when I pulled into their driveway. Through the window I could see them sitting at the dinner table, eating like nothing was wrong. I did not knock. I walked right in and slammed the bank documents on their dinner table, making the dishes rattle. "What the hell is this?" I shouted. My father stood up. "Watch your tone, young man. You tried to pay off my mortgage, without my permission. You forged my signature. That is fraud. That is a crime." "Honey, calm down." My mother started, but I cut her off. We were trying to help you, my father said. You are drowning in debt. I am not in debt. I have a mortgage like millions of people. That is normal. My mother started crying, her usual tactic. We just wanted to give you a fresh start, free you from that burden. That is a lie, I said. You wanted control. You wanted me dependent on you again. Fine, my father said, his mask finally slipping. Yes, we think you should sell that house. It is too much for you. My mother added, we want you closer to home where we can help you. You are 28 years old, and you are making stupid decisions, my father continued. I am a grown man, I said, my voice shaking. This is my life, my house, my decision. We own you, my father said, and those words hit me like a punch. We raised you. We paid for your education. I paid you back every cent for college, I said. I owe you nothing. How can you be so ungrateful, my mother sobbed. Ungrateful, I repeated. You committed fraud. The silence that followed was heavy. Then I laid down my terms. Here is what is going to happen. You are going to stay away from my house. You are never using that key again. Actually, give me that key right now. My mother clutched her purse. No. Give me the key, I repeated, or what my father challenged, or I press charges for attempted fraud and identity theft. My father's face went white. The room was completely silent. Then he picked up the spare key from the counter and threw it across the room. I picked it up and walked out. I drove straight to the hardware store. It was still open until 9 p.m. I bought new deadbolts, new doorknob locks, everything I needed to change every single lock in my house. It cost me $180, worth every single penny. I spent that entire night installing them, and with every turn of the screwdriver, I felt a little bit more free. The next morning I called a lawyer, a family friend named Brian. I told him everything. He told me to document everything, file a police report for attempted fraud, and send a cease and desist letter to my parents. I did all of it. The police report was filed that same day. The detective told me it would be hard to prosecute since it was a family situation, but it created a paper trail. Brian drafted a cease and desist letter, demanding no contact for 60 days, no attempts to access my accounts, and no coming to my property. I sent it certified mail. I went back to the bank and password protected all my accounts. I added fraud alerts to my credit report. I changed passwords on every financial account I had. I set up alerts for any activity. I was taking back control of my life piece by piece. I blocked my parents' numbers temporarily. I told my younger sister Amanda what had happened. She was shocked, but not surprised. I am not surprised, she said. They have always been controlling. They did similar things to me, just in different ways. Amanda became my ally, my support system through all of this. The first 3 weeks after the confrontation were silent. My parents did not contact me at all. I felt relief mixed with sadness. I still loved them despite everything, but I knew this boundary was necessary. For the first time in months, I slept well at night knowing my locks were changed, and they could not just walk into my house. In week 4, a letter arrived. It was handwritten from my mother. I opened it with shaking hands, hoping for an apology. Instead, it was full of justifications. We only wanted what is best for you. You will understand when you have children. Families should stick together. There was no acknowledgement of what they had done wrong. No real apology. I did not respond. My sister Amanda became my lifeline during this time. She visited regularly, bringing wine and helping me paint the guest bedroom a soft gray color. We talked about growing up, sharing stories I had never told anyone. They did this to me too, she said, just differently. They controlled who I dated, where I went to college, what job I took. I just never stood up to them like you did. Our bond grew deeper than it had ever been. My friends at work rallied around me too. My coworker, Jason, who also had controlling parents, pulled me aside one day. Man, good for you for standing up, he said. I wish I had your courage. I started inviting people over more often without fear of my parents showing up unannounced. My house finally felt like home. I also decided to do a reality check on my finances, just to prove to myself that my parents had been wrong. I tracked every single expense for 2 months. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, gas insurance, everything. At the end of each month, after all my bills and expenses, I had $800 left over. I was building my emergency fund steadily. There was no financial stress at all. I was not house poor. I was not drowning. I was doing just fine. Better than fine, actually. I was thriving. 6 months after the confrontation, my phone rang. It was Amanda's number, so I answered. But it was my mother's voice. "Honey, please do not hang up." I tensed immediately, but decided to listen. "Your father and I, we miss you." "That is not an apology," I said quietly. "We are sorry we upset you," she tried. "You are sorry you upset me. Not sorry for what you did." There was silence on the other end. "We were trying to help," she said again, and I felt my patience snap. "Mom, I love you, but what you both did was wrong. It was criminal. And until you can actually acknowledge that and genuinely apologize, I cannot have you in my life." "You are breaking your father's heart," she said, going back to the guilt trips. "He broke my trust," I replied. "Goodbye, Mom." I hung up. I felt guilty for days after that call. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Sarah, who helped me work through the complex emotions. "You set a healthy boundary," she told me. "That is growth, not cruelty." I journaled about my feelings, working through the guilt. Eventually, clarity came. I deserve respect. I am not responsible for their feelings. I did the right thing. 1 year after buying my house, my life looked completely different. I had painted the walls in colors I loved, including a beautiful teal in the living room that my mother would have absolutely hated. I planted a garden in the backyard with tomatoes and herbs. I adopted a rescue dog, a golden retriever mix. I named Copper. I hosted Thanksgiving dinner with Amanda, my closest friends, and my chosen family. As I looked around my table that day, I felt genuine peace. My career was thriving too. I got promoted to senior marketing specialist with a salary increase to $85,000 a year, even more financial security, even more proof that my parents had been completely wrong about me. Eventually, after 8 months of no contact, my parents reached out again. This time it was different. My father called and asked if we could meet for coffee. "Just to talk," he said. I agreed cautiously. We met at a neutral location, a coffee shop halfway between our homes. My father looked older, tired. "I owe you an apology," he said. "Not for trying to help, but for how I went about it." It was not quite the apology I wanted, but it was a start. My mother apologized too, though she struggled more with admitting fault. I established clear boundaries for any future relationship. Visits had to be scheduled. No more showing up unannounced. No more keys to my house. No more discussions about my finances unless I brought it up. They agreed, though I could tell it was hard for them. Our relationship now is different, more distant, but more honest. We see each other a few times a year, always on my terms. It is not the close family relationship some people have, but it is what works for us. The person I became through this experience is someone I am proud of. My confidence grew in ways I never expected. I no longer feared disappointing my parents. I made decisions based on what I wanted, not what they wanted for me. I stopped seeking their approval for every little thing. I started dating someone, a wonderful woman named Lauren, who has healthy boundaries with her own family. My friends noticed the change. "You seem lighter," Jason told me. "You seem free." I learned that love does not mean control. Real love respects boundaries. Family is not supposed to manipulate you, and when they do, it is okay to step back. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. I learned that I am stronger than I thought. Standing up to my parents was terrifying, but it was necessary. My worth is not tied to their approval. I am capable of making good decisions without their input. True independence is not just financial. It is emotional. It is setting boundaries. It is saying no, even when it hurts. That house was not just a building. It was proof that I could stand on my own 2 feet. 3 years later, I am still in this house. I have made every single mortgage payment on time. The house value has increased. I have no regrets about this purchase. My parents visit twice a year, and our relationship is civil but not close. And that is okay. I have made peace with it. Sometimes I walk through my house late at night, copper at my feet, and I think about that moment at the bank when I found out what my parents tried to do. Part of me still cannot believe my own parents would go that far. But another part of me, the stronger part, knows that their betrayal was the push I needed to finally become my own person. This house saved me, not from financial ruin like they claimed. It saved me from a lifetime of being controlled, and that is worth every single mortgage payment. If you have ever felt suffocated by someone who claims to love, you know this. Freedom is worth fighting for, even if it means fighting the people who raised you. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who could not let go? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you or helped you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you deserve respect, you deserve independence, and you deserve to live life on your own terms. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember your home should be your sanctuary, not someone else's to control.